That footage was taken using a homemade GoPro helmet mount, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can make one for yourself. It's easy and it's dirt cheap. The GoPro Session 5. It's a great little camera to have for sports video capture, and the reason is it's so small, and being small you can put it in unusual places for unusual angles of capture. In bike riding, we love to capture the action and the things that happen around us. So you can mount it either on your bicycle or on yourself. The best place to mount it happens to be on your helmet. Now there's two reasons for that. Your head is the most stable part of the whole system. If you mount the camera on your bike, you're going to pick up a lot of vibration and you're going to have wobbly footage. So with your head being stable, you're going to get a nice even picture, nice and stable and nice and clear. Secondly, if you mount it on your helmet, if something happens over here while you're riding along, chances are you're going to be looking around and go and look at what's going on, what's happened. So if the camera's on, you're going to capture that moment. If the camera is stuck on your bike, it's stuck in one direction, isn't it? You're not going to capture what's happening. So there's two reasons. You capture what you see, very quick response, and for stability. So how to attach Session 5 camera to your helmet. Where you don't want to put it toward the back of your helmet because you'll end up capturing the helmet on the bottom of your screen. So you don't want that. You want it halfway to the front. Now you don't want it right at the front like a miner's light because the weight of it and a little bit of vibration will pull the helmet down a little bit and you'll end up getting a lower view than what you want. So slightly back and toward the mid is the best place. Now different attachments to put it on. I've got a whole box that I've gathered through about 3 or 4 months worth of all sorts of ways to attach it. None of them really work successfully. The only two that come close, which are a strap-on version. You can strap it on to your helmet, which was also awkward. It came loose at times and slid to one side. And it made the camera stick up as well. It was ugly and just didn't really fancy that. The other one is the stick-on where you take the sticky off and you find an appropriate place on your helmet and stick it on. Well, that's not always possible. And even so, even if you did, would you trust $450 of your camera to a piece of sticky? I certainly wouldn't. So we have to come up with some way of attaching the Session 5 to the helmet. So we want our GoPro Session 5 to be as low profile on the helmet as possible. Not just because it's aerodynamic and looks good, but because all the other brackets I tried were up higher. It puts the center of gravity higher, and you could feel the camera pulling the helmet around every now and again. So as low as possible. How you do it? Use your bracket here that comes with all GoPros, the one with the attachment underneath. Now you can buy one with the attachment on the back. That's not the one you want, it's the one underneath. Now, if you're already using your bracket for something else, you can buy these on eBay really cheap, $3. So grab yourself a couple of them. So that's where your GoPro Session 5 goes in there. Clip it on. And now we're going to make the bracket that attaches it to the helmet really, really low profile. So did we come up with a bracket that fits all criteria? Sure did. There it is. You're not going to get any more low profile than that on your helmet. What does it look like? That's it. We've got 6 different helmets here, 3 a mountain bike and 3 a road bike, and they're all different shapes and the vents are in different places. This fits them all, so it's bound to fit your helmet too. Not only that, it's so cheap to make, you could make 10 of them for less than $1. Let's go and see how to make it. all you need to do is make this. It's a piece of 19mm poly pipe cut up. See? Just put it together like that. Poly pipe. So you can go to your hardware store or your gardening centre and buy a piece of poly like this. You can buy it in metre lengths or big rolls. And all you need is 10 centimetres. 10 centimetres. They'll probably give it to you. But if you want to make a few different brackets and have a few different goes, I'd get a metre. So what's so good about poly pipe? It does this. And it's so malleable. Right, so cut yourself a piece of poly 10 centimetres long and squash it fairly flat. From one end, measure in 3 centimetres and make a mark. And at the other end, cut from halfway along its width, approximately along a line like this. So now you should have 2 pieces, and it should look about like that. And the other piece there you can just throw away in the bin. So here's our GoPro camera holder, and you want to mount it on the thin end of that piece of poly. So we'll need to drill a hole on that thin end, about 7mm in from both edges. Now you need a short bolt that goes through the camera holder lug hole and a drill bit that's the diameter of that bolt. The bolt length should be about 6 to 10mm. Don't go above 15mm or it will impinge on your helmet. So make sure the bolt fits through the camera mounting hole in your bracket. Now with a smaller drill bit, I'm going to drill a couple of holes in the other end of the bracket. So here's the bracket. And here's the hole it's going to drill, 2 like that, and then another one right in the middle so it makes like a slot. Here's a close-up. So as you can see, drilling just one hole isn't wide enough for a zip tie to go through, so we're going to have to drill a couple more next to it so it forms like a slot. So there's a slot and the zip tie should fit through nicely now. Next step is to cut your bracket along this line. So now open it out flat and then fold it over backwards. Now put the camera holder on the front of your bracket and put the bolt through the hole. Now put the nut on the bolt and do it up, and there shouldn't be too much bolt sticking out the other end of the nut. And do it up fairly firm but not overly tight. And that's it, that's the holder on the bracket. So now you've made your poly bracket and you put your GoPro bracket on, you put your zip tie through. Now I recommend using removable zip ties. That way you can take them on and off when you need to, or adjust them, move them around and all that sort of stuff. So a removable zip tie. The other thing about this bracket is good because you're not drilling holes in your helmet and compromising the integrity of its structure. Now it's time to put the zip tie in. Make sure the serrated side of the zip tie faces upwards. And simply thread it through like this. Now mounting your camera bracket into your helmet is really easy. Just fold it like that, stick it in the hole that you want the camera bracket to sit in and push it through. Now it's a good idea to remove the pads where the bracket is so you can see where you're threading the zip tie through, and the bracket will be underneath the pads anyhow. Each helmet will be slightly different where the vent holes are, so I'll leave it up to you where you thread your zip tie through, but when it comes out through the top, you just join it together and zip tie it up. Now you can cut off any excess of the zip tie, leave a little bit sticking out in case you want to undo and redo the zip tie at any time. And your bracket should be nice and snug against the underside of the shell of the helmet, like this. Now put your pads back in, and it should be nice and neat like this, and you wouldn't even know there's a bracket underneath. And of course, with the removable zip ties, you can add one to another, just like that, and you've got an extra long one. So if you've got an awkward spot on your helmet, you need to go through wide holes or whatever, you can add one to another. So another reason to have releasable zip ties. And so you can thread your zip tie either through that way and around up that way, or you can thread it up that way and around that way. So either that way or that way, whichever. In fact, you don't have to have the holes drilled at the back of the bracket. You can drill them midway or wherever you really want to. It's up to you to experiment around according to how you want, how your helmet's arranged, and go from there. Some helmets like this one, it's awkward to mount the bracket facing backwards. So you can turn it the other way around and face it forward. So the zip tie is at the front and it works just as effective, and you can still tilt the camera. All done, all ready to go. Now, not only can you have them for your helmet, but you can also put the bracket on your bike. Here you can make one. The bracket here that we've made, instead of being 10 centimeters long, is only 6 centimeters long, and you can put it on your head stem. My favorite place is underneath. I'll just show you. Using your bracket exactly in the same way as you do with your helmet, thread it through your cables and then zip tie it around your head stem like that. Now with a little bit of excess left, you can either cut it flush or you can bend it around like this, and there you go, not in the way of your hands. And if you ride with your hands right in and it does get in the way, you can still cut it flush or figure out a way of bending the zip tie all the way around underneath. All done, and it's nice and neat. Another popular place to mount the GoPro is rear facing. So on your seat posts or on your seat rails. Don't forget you can bend that as well with the camera on the bracket. Anyhow, you can figure something out and let us know how to do that. But the helmet one, I can guarantee you, I've used it for about a year and a half now on both road and mountain bike, and I ride 3 times a week. It works great. I've got some great capture moments. So go ahead, make a couple of them, make a couple for different bikes you got and different helmets. It's really, really cheap to make and they work excellently. And if you've got any other great ideas, let us know as well. It's raining. It's raining. No one wants to go. We're all in our rain gear.